Hello there you beautiful people, and welcome to this video where we're going to be kickstarting our discussion of how to delete files and directories using the command line. So in this video you're going to learn how to use the rm command to delete files, and you're also going to learn how to use the rm command along with wildcards to make the rm command even more powerful. And by the end of this video you'll know how to delete files using the command line, and in the next video we'll move our discussion onto directories. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so let's kick off by creating a file called delete me in our home directory. So we can see that we're already in our home directory by looking at our shell prompt. We see the tilde, the squiggle up there, which means we're in the shell prompt. But to confirm, we could just type the pwd command, print working directory, and see that we are indeed in our home folder. So let's create a file called delete me. We're going to use the touch command and type delete me. Okay, and press enter, and now if we use the ls command we'll see that we do indeed have a file called delete me been created. But we can confirm this of course by opening up our graphical file browser, and we'll see a file called delete me. Okay, so far so good. Clearing the screen. Now that we've created delete me, how can we actually delete it? Okay, well, the way to actually delete or remove that file is using something called the rm command. Now the rm command is rm stands for remove, and all you've got to do is give the rm command a set of paths to files that you actually want to delete, and these could be absolute paths or relative paths. So if we open up the man page for the rm command, it says that you can give it more than one file. Okay, you see you can give it a file and then it's got 3 dots after it, and we know from our discussion of command line syntax, a command line layout, that these 3 dots mean you can have more than one. And if you need a refresher on that, check the cheat sheet in the previous section. It's got all that information in there for you. So let's go ahead and remove delete me. So I could, because I'm already in the same folder, I could just, use the relative path like that, rm delete me, and when I press enter, we'll see that delete me has indeed been deleted. I could, if I create delete me in our documents folder this time. Okay, so if I look in our documents folder, we see delete me has been created. At the minute, in the command line, I'm just in the home folder. So if I try to do rm delete me, that won't work because there is no such thing as delete me in this directory. So to delete it, I have to do rm documents / delete me. So I have to give it the path relative to where we are now, which is the home folder. So here I am in the home folder. To get to delete me, I have to do documents, then delete me. Okay, so documents / delete me, and I press enter, and then it gets deleted. Okay, and you can have more than one. So if I go ahead and create a file called, let's say file1.txt, that's in our home directory. I create a file called file2 in our documents. So file2.txt in our documents, and I create a file called file3.txt in our downloads. Okay, so I've got one in the home folder, one in the documents, and one in downloads. Okay, so to delete all those, I can just enter them one after another. So I do rm file1.txt. I don't have to do anything because that will do because I'm already in the home directory, the same folder as it. Documents / file2 and downloads / file3. And if I press enter, you see that file1 disappeared, file2 has disappeared from documents, and file3 has disappeared from downloads. So the rm command is a very simple command to use for files. Just think of it as the opposite of the touch command. So if you want to create a file, you do touch file1. If you want to delete it, rm file1, and it'll work just like that. So now that we've seen how to use the rm command in a basic way, let's take it up a notch and use it along with wildcards. Now wildcards can really level up the power that your commands have. So let's just see how we do this using the rm command. Let's make a few new files. Let's make file1.txt, let's make file2.png, and file3.jpg. So when I press enter, you see that all 3 of those have been created in our home folder. Okay, now how would we delete every single one of them that ended in .txt? So let's actually, just for now, let's make another one, file4.txt. Okay, so we've got 2 that end in .txt, and we've got one that ends in png and one that ends in .jpg. How would we delete them? They're the ones that end in .txt. Well, first of all, we could do it manually. We could say rm file1.txt and file4.txt. That would work, but I want a bit more of a clever solution than that. I want to say delete every file that ends in .txt. Now, the way we do that is by giving the command a pattern, and anything that matches this pattern will be added as a command line argument to it. So if the pattern that I'm going to use is this, star.txt. Now let's break this down, okay? So the star means anything. Anything could go there. So this whole thing is our pattern, okay? The star means anything, and then .txt. So what this means is, for anything to match that pattern, all it has to do is end in .txt, right? So basically what this is saying is remove everything that ends in .txt. And when we press enter on that, you see that file 1 and file 4 have been deleted because they ended in .txt. Okay, so let's try and see if we could make some other files. Let's make file 1.txt again and file 4.txt. Let's make those back, and then let's create some other files. Okay, let's create some called shablam.txt, and let's call it shablam1, right? And then shablam2.png and shablam3.jpg. Okay, so we've got some that start with shablam and some that start with the word file. Okay, how would we delete the ones that start with the word file? Well, the way that we do this is we would use the rm command again, of course, because we need to delete. Then we need to give it another pattern. So let's think, how would we create a pattern that would match anything as long as it started with the word file? Well, the way we could do that is we could type the word file and then put a star, because this means as long as it starts with file and then has anything after it, it matches. So all it has to do is start with the word file. And if I press enter, we see that file 1, 2, 3, and 4.txt, that, doesn't matter about the file extension or anything. As long as they started with file, they've been deleted. But all of the shablams have been kept there. Okay, so let's create file 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. So we're going to create touch file 1.txt, file 2.png, file 3.jpg, and file 4.txt. We'll make them back again. Okay, now we want to delete all of the files that have the number 2 in them. Okay, so how would we do that? Well, what we might do is we might say, okay, let's remove. It doesn't matter what it starts with, but it's got to have the 2 in there, and it doesn't matter what it ends in. Okay, so here we are, we're saying it could have anything, then the number 2, and then anything afterwards. Okay, so if we do that, we see that file 2 has been deleted and shablam2 has been deleted, but all the others are okay. What about getting rid of the ones that end in .jpg? Well, to do that, you just do rm ends in .jpg. I press enter. File 3.jpg and shablam3 have been deleted, but all the others that end in .txt are still there. What about deleting those? Rm everything that ends in .txt. Press enter, and they've all been deleted as well. So you can see here how wildcards can really make your commands a whole lot more powerful and a lot more specific. There's one more that I want to show you. Let's just go up here. We've made back our files, and let's make back our shablam files, shablam2 .png, I think, yeah, and shablam3.jpg. Okay, now what if we wanted to get rid of the ones that had 2 or 3 in them? Well, to do that, remember how we got rid of the one that had 2 in it, right? We said it could start with anything, then have a 2, then end in anything. Well, now we want to give it some options, and this is where the square brackets come in. So if I said, okay, something like that, that's saying it could start with anything, then have either a 2 or a 3, and then end in anything. So this should get rid of file 2, file 3, and shablam2 and shablam3. So if I press enter, ta-da! File 2 and file 3, and shablam2 and shablam3 have been deleted. So wildcards are incredible tools that really allow you to control what's going on when you use your commands, and anything that matches this pattern will be passed as a command line argument to the command that you use the wildcards for. So that's a bit of wildcards in action as well. So there you have it. In this video, you learnt about the rm command. Now, the rm command is the command that's used to remove stuff from your file system. And in this video, we focus specifically on deleting files. You also built upon what you learnt in the last video about wildcards and saw wildcards being used in action to delete files. Now, what you saw about wildcards in this video, it doesn't only apply to the rm command. What you learnt about wildcards and how you might do specific tasks works for any command. You build patterns called regular expressions with wildcards, and whatever matches those patterns is passed as a command line argument to the command that you're using. So there you are, you've seen some wildcards in practice as well. Up next, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be developing this discussion a bit more, and we're going to move on to looking at how you might delete directories. How can you delete folders? So that's a completely next level. It's going to be very exciting stuff. So I'll see you in the next video.